Hello everyone, welcome to Asura Psych, and today I want to give you 3 tips to be a healthier and better adjusted INTP. Now I know there's a lot of INTPs in the MBTI community because as an intuitive type, they're going to be naturally drawn to things like Myers-Briggs and personality type because they're abstract. So I just kind of wanted to give my advice to INTPs on how they can live a better life and maybe improve upon some of the personality traits that they have. Let's get into it. So the first big piece of advice I have for INTPs is actually advice that I would give to almost any thinking type, and I kind of discussed this in my 3 tips to be a healthier INTJ video. And it's that thinking does not mean harsh. You do not have to be mean just because you're a thinking type. When you think about what thinking is in terms of Myers-Briggs, it's the ability to come to conclusions through logic instead of through value or meaning as you would see in the feeling types. But more often than not, you see that thinking types tend to be harsh or overly critique people when they're trying to give solutions or advice. And this is because thinking is something that kind of has to develop in individuals. You have to really learn how to balance out how you're going to respond when you see that someone is making an error, because it's upsetting for thinking types to see someone messing something up or to see someone being illogical. But to be a better and healthier INTP, you need to be able to approach a situation with your introverted thinking if you see something as wrong in a way that's not going to upset everyone around you. And this is also due to extroverted feeling being in the repressed slot for INTPs, because you're not going to be as aware of how your thoughts and language impact those around you. But if you can really stop and think about what is what I'm saying going to mean to the other person, and how can I say it in a way that's going to be meaningful to them without hurting their feelings, without being overly harsh? Is that going to allow me to get something done, to get something from this? Are they actually going to learn from the advice that I'm giving them, or are they just going to be upset because I was too harsh? If you're too harsh with your critique, you're not going to be able to get your message across. And that's what's really important for an INTP or any thinking type to learn. So my second tip for INTPs is for them to realize that the logical answer is not always the correct answer. And that might sound weird for you if you're an introverted thinking type. But let me give a personal example of this and how sometimes the logical answer isn't always going to be the best answer for everybody. So I have an uncle who I think is an INTP. I'm not entirely sure. I've never typed him personally, but that's besides the point. He often looks at my YouTube videos and my channel and he'll say, I noticed that your INTJ videos outperform all of your other videos by a significant margin. You should really be pumping out those INTJ videos. If I were you, I would just do INTJ videos over and over and over again. And while that is a logical conclusion, while that makes sense, it goes against what I want from this channel. Because for me, it's important for me to put out authentic and meaningful content and talk about all of the 16 types instead of just one personality type over and over again. I want to talk about various perspectives in different psychological topics. So for that specific situation, the logical answer isn't always the correct answer, because if I only put INTJ videos out over and over and over again, I'd be bored. After a few weeks, I would run out of things to talk about. There's only so much you can talk about with one specific personality type. So in situations like those, it's important for those with introverted thinking, or anybody really, to realize that the logical answer isn't always going to be the best answer for every single person. So my last piece of advice for INTPs is to realize that an idea without implementation is worthless. You may have a great idea for an invention or a system of some kind that could revolutionize the world, that could change everything. But if you don't have the push through to bring that idea from the realm of abstract to the real world, then you're not going to change anything. And this is one of the problems with INTP personality types, is that they're completely comfortable with letting something stay in the conceptualization stage, in this permanent and perpetual stage where they're going to just keep improving upon this idea that they already have without ever pushing to make it a reality. It's important for you as an INTP, if you are one, to sit down and make a plan for how you're going to make this idea a reality. Now, not every idea you have needs to be a reality. You can certainly just play around with thoughts in your head. But if you have an idea that you really want to see come into the light, then you need to sit down and think about how you're going to make it a concrete and realistic thing. And you may even need to pair up with someone who is an extroverted judging type, or maybe even a sensing type, to get their advice on how you can plan to make this a reality. I think this is a really important step that INTPs need to learn to become a well-adapted and healthy INTP. All right, everybody, I hope you've enjoyed this video on my 3 tips for being a healthier and better adjusted INTP. If you have any tips for INTPs that you think could be useful, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. I'd love to see what you all have to say about this topic and the tips that you might have for INTPs. If you liked this video, please feel free to share it, social media, wherever. I want to remind everybody that I have personality typing sessions available at my website, asurapsych.com. This has been Asura at AsuraPsych. Have a good one.